Why does it feel like the world, our planet, is getting worse day by day? Everywhere we look, there is more conflict, more suffering, more people struggling just to survive. And it raises a question we can no longer avoid. What is really happening to us as a human family? And where are our world leaders while all of this is unfolding? What are they doing, not just for their own nations, but for the planet we all share? Because this isn't their planet, it's ours. It belongs to every person breathing on it right now, and to every child who will inherit what we leave behind. Thanks to technology, satellites, the internet, social media, real-time video, we are finally beginning to see the truth. We are one people, one big human family, spread across borders we created, speaking different languages, practicing different cultures, worshiping in different ways, but breathing the same air, drinking the same water, living on the same earth. For the first time in human history, we can witness suffering happening thousands of miles away and feel it as if it's happening next door. We see a child crying in one country and recognize our own children in their eyes. We see families fleeing disaster and remember that we too seek safety and shelter. And that awareness changes everything. Think of the earth as a big house, a house with many rooms, many colors, many traditions, but still, one house. And in any house, if one room is on fire, the whole house is in danger. If part of the roof is leaking, everyone eventually feels it. If the foundation cracks in one corner, the entire structure becomes unstable. So the question becomes, why are we still acting like strangers instead of family? Why do we lock doors between rooms when we should be opening windows to let fresh air flow through? Instead of fixing the house, instead of making sure everyone inside is safe, fed, and sheltered, we spend staggering amounts of money preparing for war. We spend trillions on defense, on military power, on weapons capable of ending life on Earth many times over. Nuclear bombs, advanced missiles, artificial intelligence designed to destroy, surveillance systems that watch our every move. Sometimes it feels like we're preparing to be attacked by another planet. But here's the irony. There is no other planet waiting to attack us. We are already here, on one planet, in one universe, with one shared destiny. If this house collapses, there is no backup, no escape pod, no plan B. So how do we explain this to ourselves? How do we sleep at night, knowing that tens of millions of people across the world cannot afford one full meal a day? How do we accept a system where abundance exists alongside extreme suffering, where food is wasted in one place while people starve in another, where luxury rises like towers while homelessness spreads like shadows beneath them? Let's look closer. In the United States, one of the wealthiest nations in history, between 61% and 70% of people live paycheck to paycheck. That means most people are one missed check, one illness, one accident away from crisis. More than 53% of Americans don't even have $1,000 to cover an emergency. And more than 770,000 Americans are homeless. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't want to work, but because the system failed to protect them. Because housing became investment instead of shelter. Because healthcare became profit instead of care. Because survival became a luxury instead of a right. Zoom out to the world. Around 150 million people lack shelter. 1.6 billion people live without adequate housing or food. That's not a statistic. That's a mother, a child, a grandfather, a future unrealized, a dream deferred, a life that matters just as much as yours or mine. And let's be clear about something important. This is not about race. Poverty is not racist. In America, those struggling include 38% Hispanic, 35% Black, 33% white. Different backgrounds, same hardship, same fear, same hope for something better. And globally, it's the same pattern. Different flags, same suffering, different languages, same tears. But here's where the story changes. Because this problem is not unsolvable. Research shows that $10 to $30 billion a year could effectively end homelessness. $177 billion a year could lift everyone above the official poverty line. $318 billion a year could end extreme global poverty. People living on less than $2.15 a day. Now pause and really hear that. We're not talking about fantasy. We're talking about math, about resources that already exist, about choices we can make right now. The United States alone spends about $949 billion on defense. China spends around $450 billion. Russia $352 billion. India $282 billion, just to name a few. In fact, the top 10 countries combined spend roughly $2.812 trillion on defense. Let that sink in for a moment. Just a fraction of these budgets, redirected toward human survival, could change the course of history. We could build homes instead of bombs. We could feed children instead of fueling conflict. We could invest in life instead of perfecting death. So when people say, ending poverty isn't realistic, the truth is, we've simply chosen not to. We've chosen other priorities. We've accepted other narratives. We've believed other stories about what's possible. This is why leadership matters. True leadership is not about dominance, not about fear, not about power over others. Real leadership is about responsibility. Responsibility to humanity. Responsibility to future generations. Responsibility to the planet that sustains us all. World leaders must begin asking different questions. Not, how do we win, but how do we sustain life? Not, who is the enemy, but how do we protect humanity? Not, how do we maintain power, but how do we serve the people who gave us that power? Because leadership without compassion is tyranny, and power without purpose is destruction. Because at the deepest level, we are one. Humans are one species. The attempt to divide us into races has caused immeasurable harm. Hate is ignorance. Racism is ignorance. There is no biological hierarchy of humans, only cultural differences, stories, and shared struggles. What makes us different does not separate us. It defines us as individuals, not as enemies. Our diversity is not our weakness, it is our strength. Our stories, woven together, create the full tapestry of what it means to be human. So imagine this. What if nations competed not over weapons, but over who could reduce suffering the fastest? What if global cooperation became the new measure of strength? What if children everywhere were guaranteed food, shelter, education, and safety, simply because they are human? What if we invested in peace with the same intensity we invest in war? What if clean water, adequate housing, and healthcare were treated as basic human rights, not privileges reserved for the wealthy? What if our legacy wasn't measured in military victories, but in lives uplifted, in problems solved, in futures secured? Peace on earth is not a dream, it's a decision to value life over profit, people over power, humanity over division. This channel exists to ask the questions many are afraid to ask, and to imagine answers bold enough to change the world. Because change doesn't begin with governments alone. It begins with awareness, with conversation, with courage, with people like you, willing to see things differently, willing to ask, what if? Willing to believe that another way is possible. So for the sake of our planet, for the sake of our children, for the sake of our shared future, let us ask, what if we chose unity over division? What if we chose compassion over fear? What if we finally acted like one human family? This is peace on earth, and this is only the beginning.